My country is the country that I choose. And I choose the United States because I support democracy, I support this value system. If you guys ever are able to offer me something like this in Russia or any country in the world, I will be there with the first plane. My title was a public relations specialist, which means propaganda, which means censorship. 50% of my time I was working with journalists. That is, they reach out to me or I reach out to them and they ask me for some kind of official information. We censor them. We'll tell them what to do, what to say, and we also then censor, and then when we publish, we follow up and saying, you guys did a good job, or you didn't do a good job, write something else. The result is that the majority of Russian people, they simply are not aware that another perspective exists, or even that the truth exists out there. As with most things in life, you have to step back to actually see it in a larger perspective. And whilst I was working in the government, I was excited. I didn't have time to comprehend what I was doing. So after a year and a half, I quit my job. After a series of pretty disappointing, nasty stories broke out, and I had to actually cover up for the government, and I didn't want to do that. Back in a time, it was absolutely not as bad as right now, because what's happening with Russian propaganda is another level. It's some Soviet Union level. I've never seen anything like this. The amount of lies and the amount of nonsense that comes from federal channels, that comes from newspapers in Russia every day is absolutely terrifying. For the majority of Russian population, they have no other option other than relying on the Kremlin media. I have 3 sisters living in Russia, and they're all very highly educated individuals. All these years they've been listening to me so carefully, and they're like, usually, thank you so much, that's, you know, enlightening, that's so interesting. And I didn't really think that this situation would be any different until that night when Russia invaded Ukraine. I woke up because somebody was texting me. I received a lot of text messages. And I pick up my phone, and it's my sisters, and they're sending me texts like, have you seen what's happening? Do you know what's happening? Blah, blah, blah. Russia is invading Ukraine. And then they start telling me, we are so glad that this is happening. We so support Putin. We are so happy because there are fascists marching down in Kiev, because Russian people are getting killed, because NATO was supposed to, NATO had plans to invade Russia by June 2022. NATO had planned to dismantle, to nuke Russia. And Putin is standing up for the truth alone against the whole world. We are so happy. And I'm telling them, guys, hold on for a second. Just politics aside, geopolitics aside, forget about what the media tells you. Just imagine it's you who's sleeping in the middle of the night and some planes come and bomb you. What are you gonna feel? Just as a human, what are you gonna feel? How can you be pro-war? And at that point they flip and they start telling me horrible things like, that's because you've lived in the United States for 6 years. You're an American spy. We know for a fact that the American government is paying you money, so you would be working against Russian interests. And I'm saying, hold on, I'm your sister. You've known me for 30 years. We have a marvelous relationship. What's going on? Why? And at that point, they just block me everywhere. They delete me from all chats, and so we are not in touch anymore. So my own family turned against me. I cannot even blame them, because the only source of information they have is whatever the Kremlin tells them. You know, the world they live in look very, very different to them. So I don't know how you fight the system. I don't know.
Do you ever feel that maybe you contributed in any way, or?
Yeah. And this is something I struggle with. I am ashamed at this point that I'm Russian. I don't like telling people that I'm from Russia, and especially in this situation with Ukraine and all, I am so sorry for what Ukrainian people are going through. I'm so sorry.